In the first 4 months of this year, 7 different frontier AI models have been released. Anthropic shipped Claude Opus 4.7 on the 16th of April. OpenAI shipped GPT 5.5 on the 23rd. 2 days later, the Chinese lab DeepSeek released V4 Pro under an MIT license on Hugging Face free. Google has Gemini 3.1 Pro at the top of the reasoning leaderboard. XAI has Grok 4, still leading some coding benchmarks. Meta has Muse Spark. Anthropic has the Mythos Preview, which they decided not to release at all. If you have spent any time on YouTube in the last 6 weeks, you have probably been told, in capital letters and a thumbnail of a person looking shocked, that the answer to which AI should I be using is the model that was released yesterday. This is not that video. The honest answer to which AI should I be using is that it depends on what you are doing. The bigger answer is that there are now 5 or 6 things you might be doing, and a different model wins on each of them. By the end of the next 18 minutes, you will have a single decision framework. Coding goes to one model, writing goes to another, research goes to a third, images and video each go somewhere different again that you can use the moment this video ends. No capital letters. No, the model that has everyone freaked out. Just the cheat sheet. A note before we begin. This is an evergreen video. We will be recutting it every few months as the leaderboards move. The version you are watching is the April 2026 cut, current as of the day of upload. The structure is 5 questions in this order. 1. The landscape. Who is shipping what? At what price? 2. Coding. 3. Writing and research. 4. Images, video, and voice. 5. Agents and computer use. At the end, you will get the cheat sheet itself, a single screenful that names a winner for each use case, with the runner-up next to it, and the price you should expect. 2 practical notes. The benchmarks we will quote come from the public versions of swe-bench, swe-bench verified, GPQA Diamond, ARC AGI 2, Terminal Bench, and LM Arena, all current as of late April 2026. We are not making them up. We will name the source on screen as each one appears. The prices we will quote are the public API list prices in US dollars per million tokens on the day this episode was scripted. The consumer subscription prices, the pro tiers, are mentioned at the end. If you are choosing between $20 a month consumer plans, the price part of the framework matters less than the use case part. So we will start with use case. There are 5 providers worth knowing about. Anthropic, based in San Francisco, ships Claude. Their current lineup is Opus 4.7, the flagship released 16th of April. Sonnet 4.6, released February. 98% of Opus quality at a fraction of the cost. And Haiku 4.5, the small, fast tier. They also have the Mythos Preview, 10 trillion parameters, which they decided not to ship to anyone outside the Project Glasswing Security Consortium. We covered Mythos in the last episode. OpenAI ships ChatGPT with GPT 5.5 as the headline model since the 23rd of April. List price $5 per million input tokens, $30 per million output. Roughly twice GPT 5.4. They also have GPT 5.4 Mini, the cheaper variant. Sora, their video model, was shut down on the 25th of March. It cost $15 million a day to run. Google ships Gemini. The flagship is Gemini 3.1 Pro, currently leading the reasoning leaderboard. They also ship Gemini 3.1 Flash and Flashlight, the cheap and fast tier. Gemini Pro retails at $2 input and $12 output per million tokens. DeepSeek, the Chinese lab, shipped V4 Pro on the 24th of April. 1,600 billion parameters, mixture of experts, MIT license, waits on Hugging Face. meaning you can download and run it yourself if you have the hardware. List price $1.74 input, $3.48 output. Roughly 9 times cheaper than GPT 5.5 on output. XAI ships. Grok. Grok 4 still leads some coding benchmarks but is pricier per query, and the consumer product is gated behind X Premium. A note on Meta. Meta released Muse Spark in early April under their Superintelligence Labs banner. It is competitive on multimodal but is not yet shipping to consumers as a chat product. Meta's play is to embed it in WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook. So, for the purposes of this video, you can ignore it. 5 providers, 3 price tiers. The price tier you are in mostly determines what you can do per dollar. The provider you pick mostly determines what you can do, full stop. If you write code for a living, this is the section that matters most. 3 benchmarks worth tracking. swe-bench verified. Solves real GitHub issues from real open source projects. The current leader is Claude Opus, 4.7 at 82%. DeepSeek V4 Pro is at 80.6%, within 0.2 of Opus, and they made it free. GPT 5.5 is at 78%. Terminal Bench 2.0 measures how well a model can run command line workflows. Different benchmark, different winner. GPT 5.5 sits at 82.7%. Claude Opus is at 69.4. Live Code Bench measures the ability to write code that compiles and passes a held-out test suite. DeepSeek V4 Pro leads at 93.5. The honest summary. If you are doing serious software engineering, refactoring across files, debugging large code bases, writing production code, the answer is Claude. Specifically Claude Code, which is Anthropic's agentic coding tool. It reads your entire code base, writes across files, runs tests, commits to Git. There is currently nothing else as capable. If you are budget constrained, a student, an indie developer, a startup with a pre-revenue product, the answer is DeepSeek V4 Pro. You give up roughly 2 percentage points on the leading benchmark, and you save roughly 9 times the money. For most workloads, that trade is correct. If you are doing terminal-heavy automation, bash scripting, DevOps, data pipelines, GPT 5.5 edges out the others on Terminal Bench. Use it. If you are inside a Microsoft shop, GitHub Copilot has been quietly upgrading its underlying model rotation and now defaults to Claude Sonnet 4.6 for most code completions, with GPT 5.4 Mini as the fast fallback. The brand on the box is Copilot, but the brain is increasingly Anthropic. One more pattern from the actual usage data the labs publish. The most effective coders are not picking one model and staying with it. They are routing between 3 or 4. Claude for design and refactor, GPT for terminal automation, DeepSeek for cost-sensitive batch jobs, and a small local model for autocomplete. The cost of switching is low. The benefit is real. 2 different problems, 2 different winners. Writing first. If you are writing long-form prose, articles, essays, scripts, newsletters, the kind of thing where the texture of the sentences matters, Claude is the model the people who do this for a living have settled on. The reason is not on any single benchmark. It is the cumulative effect of hundreds of prose quality A/B tests run by professional writers over the last 18 months. Claude's output reads, on average, less like a model and more like a person who happens to have read everything. It contracts where a human would contract, varies sentence length where a human would vary, drops jokes that mostly land. The Anthropic post-training process appears to have invested heavily in prose quality. The competing labs have not, or at least not as visibly. Specifically, Claude Sonnet 4.6 is the price-quality sweet spot for writing. Opus 4.7 for the high-stakes pieces, Sonnet for the daily volume. Research now. Research is a different beast. Research means pull together information from multiple sources, evaluate it, synthesize it, and tell me what to think. The benchmark to watch here is GPQA Diamond, graduate level science questions, no internet, and RCAGI 2, abstract reasoning with novel rules. Gemini 3.1 Pro currently leads both, 94.3 on GPQA, 77.1 on ARC-AGI 2. There is a second reason Gemini wins research. It has native real-time search integration. It can pull current data, Q1 2026 economic figures, this morning's news, the contents of a paper that was uploaded to AR-Archive last night, and reason over it. The other models either do not have real-time search or have to call out to a tool. Gemini does it inline. If you are writing research-heavy content, analyst reports, due diligence memos, comparison docs, white papers, the workflow most people end up at is Gemini for the synthesis pass, then Claude for the rewrite pass. Gemini gets the facts right. Claude gets the prose right. Together, they cost you about $3 a session and produce something that, in 2024, would have been a junior analyst's afternoon. 3 different markets, 3 different leaders. Images first. If you want a single image, a marketing visual, a thumbnail, a concept piece, Midjourney remains the answer for cinematic and artistic styles. The current version produces images that are visibly more aesthetic on average than any competitor. The interface lives inside a Discord server, which is annoying, but the output is the output. For functional images, diagrams, mock-ups, photo edits, logo iterations, DALL-E inside ChatGPT and Imagen inside Gemini are both capable, and you do not have to leave the chat interface. They are good enough. They are not Midjourney. Video next. The single most important thing to know about AI video in April 2026 is that Sora is dead. OpenAI shut down Sora on the 25th of March. The reason given in the postmortem was that the model cost approximately $15 million per day to run. The economics did not work. The current state of the art for AI video is Google's Veo 3.1. It has native audio generation. It generates physics that obey gravity, fluid dynamics, and cloth simulation more reliably than any competitor. It is currently inside Gemini Advanced and inside Google AI Studio. Runway Gen 4.5 is the runner-up. It has more granular creative control, motion brushes per pixel direction. Use Veo for the first pass, Runway for the Polish pass. Kling 3.0 is competitive, but the rendering pipeline is slower. Voice. 11 Labs remains the default. The multilingual model produces voice that fools casual listeners more than any competitor. The creator tier is $22 a month for 300,000 characters, roughly 2.5 full-length narrated documentaries. If you need voice cloning for languages other than English, and specifically for Asian languages with tonal inflection, Murph AI has, at the moment, better accent retention than 11 Labs. The OpenAI text-to-speech models, Alloy, Echo, Fable, Onyx, Nova, Shimmer, are cheaper than 11 Labs and good enough for prototypes. They are not what you ship to a paying audience. The single biggest shift in 2026 is that AI is no longer just answering questions. It is doing things. 3 categories worth understanding. 1. Agentic coding. Claude Code is the leader. It is a command line tool that reads your entire code base, writes across multiple files, runs your tests, looks at the failures, fixes them, and commits to Git. It is what you use when you want a feature built, not when you want a snippet generated. The closest competitor is Cursor. Cursor uses Claude under the hood as its default model, with GPT and Gemini as alternates, and it lives inside an IDE rather than a terminal. Pick Cursor if you want a visual interface. Pick Claude Code if you want scriptable command line workflows. 2. Computer use. The model controls a browser or desktop. OpenAI's operator scores 87% on its public browser task benchmarks. It books restaurants, fills web forms, compares product listings. Anthropic has computer use built into Claude. Google has Project Mariner, the same idea inside Chrome. The honest assessment of computer use? Today, it is good enough for tedious but defined tasks. Extracting data from 100 web pages, comparing prices, filling out structured forms. It is not yet good enough for tasks where the layout changes, or where a human would need to use judgment. Treat it as an intern who is fast and tireless, but needs the brief written precisely. 3. Agent infrastructure, the protocol underneath. The Model Context Protocol, MCP, was open-sourced by Anthropic in late 2024 and has, in the 18 months since, become the de facto standard for connecting AI agents to tools. As of March 2026, it crossed 97 million installs. OpenAI shipped its own competing protocol called Agents.md late last year. The two have started to converge. The Linux Foundation took stewardship of an agentic AI foundation in December 2025. The practical implication for users: you no longer have to pick a model and live with that model's tools. You can run Claude with OpenAI's search tool, plus a custom database connector, plus your company's internal API, all stitched together by MCP. The plumbing has standardized. The agent landscape next year will be dominated by who builds the best workflows on top of this plumbing, not by who has the largest model. Here is the cheat sheet. One use case at a time. Coding. Claude Opus 4.7 if money is no object. DeepSeek V4 Pro if money is an object. Claude Code as the agent. Cursor as the IDE. Writing long-form prose, Claude. Sonnet 4.6 for daily volume. Opus for stakes. Research and synthesis, Gemini 3.1 Pro, especially anything that needs current information. General versatility, GPT 5.5. The biggest ecosystem, the most plugins, the most third-party integrations. The right pick if you want one tool for everything and you do not specifically need any of the above advantages. Cost-sensitive everything. DeepSeek V4 Pro. Open weights, run it yourself if you have hardware. Cheap API if you do not. Images, Midjourney for cinematic and artistic. DALL-E or Imagen for everyday in-chat work. Video, VO 3.1. Runway 4.5 for polish. Sora is dead. Voice, 11 Labs for shipping. OpenAI TTS for prototypes. Merv for non-English. Computer use, OpenAI Operator. Anthropic computer use is a strong second. A practical framework on top of the cheat sheet. 3 rules. Rule 1. Do not pick one model and marry it. The most effective users are running 2 or 3. Claude for the writing pass, Gemini for the research pass, DeepSeek for the cheap batch pass. The switching cost is roughly 0. Rule 2. Use the cheap tier first, the expensive tier when the cheap tier fails. Sonnet 4.6 handles 98% of Opus workloads. Gemini Flash handles most Pro workloads. Reach for the flagship only when the smaller model produces something visibly worse. Rule 3. Track the leaderboards, not the announcements. The thumbnail of the man with his mouth open does not statistically predict the model that wins your next benchmark. The leaderboard does. The 2 we recommend bookmarking are swe-bench and LM Arena. Both are public. Both update weekly. Both will tell you in numbers which model is currently best at the thing you do. If this is the kind of breakdown you want more of, practical, restrained, with the actual numbers, subscribe. We will be recutting this video as the leaderboards move. Next episode, that Melbourne logistics company we promised. Or, if a frontier lab releases something genuinely large between now and then, thank you for watching.